What's up, everyone? This is Angelo coming at you with episode 226 of Spinning Thoughts. My guest this week is Josh from the band The Faim, and they're back. I've had The Faim on before. It was in episode 152. That was in 2018, and back then I talked to the band about their debut EP and a whole lot more. Now in episode 226, Josh and I dive into their brand new single, The Hills. We talk about the music video. There's a lot of nostalgia involved in this video, and it's really cool to kind of get the perspective from Josh and hearing what the other members of the band thought as they were going through writing the song, creating the music video, and just kind of reflecting on things from the last couple years. Josh and I also talk about some more really exciting things because right now the Faim are in LA and they're here in the States because they're writing and recording their next full-length album, which is due to release sometime this year in 2022. So Josh and I dive in deep about the writing and recording process, what to expect from the band in this area of things. And then we also talk about their upcoming headlining UK Europe tour that starts right at the back end of May and goes toward the front end of July, some fest appearances, and so much more. If you like this kind of content, make sure you give it a like. If you're not already subscribed on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, now is a really good time to do that. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think of The Faim. Let us know what you think of Spinning Thoughts or anything else music related that's on your mind. All of these things really do help support Spinning Thoughts and all the free music content that we do here. We're on all social media at Spin Thoughts. Our website is thespinningthoughts.com, and we premiere episodes every Thursday at midnight Eastern on Adobe Radio. Without any more delay, let's dive into my conversation with Josh from The Faim. So I'm so excited to have my guest here for episode 226. It's always a pleasure when I get a repeat guest on. It's nice to catch back up. And you know what? To me, it's a compliment. It means that I didn't screw things up the first time and that they're willing to come back for a second. So everybody in the internet world, say hello to my guest today. I've got Josh from The Faim. Josh, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, mate. Even better that I'm speaking to you once again, of course. And thank you for having me back. I tend to feel the same, when it comes to interviews. It means I didn't screw up, so I get to come back again. So, it goes both ways. So, no, I'm really good. Thanks, mate. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. When the press team reached out to me, I've been working with this one press team on a couple interviews recently, and when they mentioned like, hey, would you be into talking to The Faim? I was like, hell yeah, I've had The Faim on before. Let's do it. It's actually been a long time though, Josh, since you and I talked. It was in October of 2018, and it was for episode 152. So we've all been doing things since October of 2018. This was around the time that The Faim dropped the Summer is a Curse EP. Since then, there have been some member changes, then the release of the band's debut album, State of Mind, tours, music videos, and more. The world is also very different, unfortunately, in a lot of different ways when it comes to like COVID and all of the changes that the world's been experiencing because of it. Josh, before we dive into some of the detailed questions that I want to talk about with music and everything, just talk to me about how life has been the last couple years for you, for the band, how you're navigating things right now in this crazy world we're in.
Yeah, man. I think the last few years for everyone, like including the band, like people, family, it's been different to say the least. The last 2 years has been like a difficult way to, I guess, especially for touring bands and for us especially, we had a lot of tours planned, we had a lot of things happening, especially coming from doing so much to then, doing little bits, and it'll just gradually get smaller, and the tours getting cancelled and things just happening over again. It was definitely a difficult time. And I think it's been that way for everyone at the moment. But in a way, I look at it as to get to the point we've had now and to have the songs that we have and to get to the writing process and really find within each of ourselves personally and as a band to get the best songs for songs moving forward. We had to go through this struggle, and I think a lot of people, whether they realize that now or not, these times that have been really difficult are going to be a big part of what pushes people forward, or if they find a new creativity or push themselves into something new. I hope. But again, it's been very difficult, and everyone's had their own myriad of issues as well. And me personally as well, I love performing. I live for performing, and having that kind of, I guess, going from every single day to not at all was like a big change for me personally as well, because you got to fill that with something else, and something that's just as fulfilling and which is difficult, because I'm a performer at heart and writer at heart. And yeah, a lot was taken away, but at the same time, very thankful for where we are now and the things that are happening. So it was a necessary process at the end of the day.
And you talk about how the band, you personally, you're a performer, you like to be on stage. The Faim was really, really busy with touring before everything got turned upside down with COVID and everything. And it kind of seems like, from reading what I've read about this latest song that the band just released on the 28th of January, The Hills, it sounds like this release, from what I'm reading, and I'm hoping we can expand on it. It seems to kind of talk about the experience of being in this grind away from home, touring nonstop, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of all of that. So when it comes to this song, talk to me a little bit more about the theme and the idea of The Hills, and does it play into kind of this change where the band was touring a ton, then again, because of the state of the world, things kind of moved away, and now it's ramping back up? Talk to me about the theme and idea behind The Hills.
For sure. The way it all kind of came about is, it's funny, I was talking to Sam on the phone, our guitarist, and we weren't really talking about a song at all. We were just really, like, this was after touring and we were all at home and writing, but we weren't talking about writing a song or anything. We were just literally talking about like important memories to us, like things because me and Sam grew up together, and just talking about childhood memories that we've shared and also shared with other people, like things that we look back on now and we're incredibly like thankful for and can still laugh about, cry about, or feel appreciative of whatever experience it was. And we just started talking about it more in depth and realized that, well, why don't we write a song about this? And we realized that this song, The Hills, was about home, about growing up in Perth, about being with our friends, about being with our family, about, being a young kid and doing things and not thinking about it, not worrying about anxiety, not worrying about what other people may think or the consequences, just very momentous and not really allowing anything to bog you down. And I feel like as everyone grows up, those things start to not necessarily disappear, but you start to become more affected by what's around you, and the moments that become so present are fewer and fewer. And we felt like that was really important to talk about because it was just so relevant to us. So the theme of that song is really just being so thankful for not just like the place you're from, but like the experiences you have and the people you share them with, and the reasons why they're important is because it makes up who you are. It when you're lost in so many ways, or when you're overwhelmed by what's going on in life, you can take those moments and ground yourself in a place where you were truly just unabided by anything, because at the end of the day, I feel like now more than ever, it's important to remember that stuff. Like when you can't create those memories again, you need that foothold to go somewhere, because it's difficult, man, especially with people around the world. Like I've been especially fortunate being from Perth. So there hasn't been like the COVID situation hasn't been as intense there, but everywhere else around the world, I feel it's pretty difficult to watch for a lot of people and go through, I imagine. And it definitely takes away a lot of the things that people would have in their normal life. But no, and this song was really important for us. Like as soon as we all kind of got this song together, we all felt immediately that this was something important and something very real and very honest, which was important for us. So yeah, we love the song.
It feels really transferable to I know that it's referring to an area back home in Perth, but it feels very transferable and relatable to anybody anywhere, because I feel like everybody has, like, hopefully maybe that place that feels like home, that brings back the nostalgia a little bit, that brings a sense of comfort and calm, especially for those who are out and about, bands that are touring, people who travel for work. Right now, maybe you're not able to go see loved ones, go back home and visit family. So it does feel super, super relatable. If you could, Josh, I know that time is really crazy to kind of keep track of right now, but I am curious, when was The Hills written? I know that there is stages and evolutions to the writing process, but around when would you say this song was really starting to be put down on paper?
I'd say it was early 2021, or late 2020. That's where I'd put the rough sort of estimate around where it was. And we, yeah, I'd say that'd be about where it was. But the thought was always around there, but we'd never really like kind of honed it down into anything. But when we had that conversation, and Sam even brought up, like, let's write a song about the hills. And we just called it The Hills, and that's when we started doing it. But I'd say late 2020, early 2021.
Now, I'm curious, how does the band go about writing songs? And is it different with every song? I don't know if your proximity to each other is close by when you're all home. What was it like to actually go about writing this? Was it over multiple sessions? Who comes in with the idea? How is it fleshed out? Is there any kind of standard or approach to it?
Well, that was kind of what the last 2 years were, was figuring out that process. Is it with all four of us? Does one of us bring an idea in? And how much do we flesh out that idea before we bring it in? And right now, I feel like we've got much more of a system. And Steve will write ideas and bring them in, and then I'll track them, or Sam will figure it out, or even. And this is the thing, all of us write, really. Steven's definitely been like taking a big foothold in writing a lot of songs, but Sam and I will bring songs in and figure out where that all sort of stands, or help Steve with the songs he's creating. So that tends to be like the system. And I think Steven going to LA and because during that time in Perth, it was just very stressful. There was a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of things not happening. There was a lot of just reinforced negativity. And we were trying to write together as four. And it just wasn't gelling as much, especially with everything going on and from what had happened before. And we were just struggling to write. No one was feeling like as creative. And I'm only just feeling confident in being creative writing in LA now. I had gone through a whole period of, like, there was a time where I could barely listen to music. I would listen to our songs and work on it and do stuff like that, but I could barely listen to. I'd lost a bit of my relationship with music after all that had happened, and going through my own sort of personal struggle with everything that had been going on. It was a difficult time, but now it's definitely taken shape, and we've got much more of a system where one of us will bring an idea in, and we all just help that vision. We don't try and convolute it. We don't try and like jam our idea in it for the sake of just being just for the sake of having our idea and it really serving the song. It's been super important for us. And we're even writing, we've only just finished writing. Like, we've been writing a lot, and me and Steve were in a session literally yesterday. And now we're pretty much deciding the album after a day of writing. Yes, it's been insane, but I feel like with us that we can never predict how things are going to go, and we just have to really work hard and just embrace every new situation as much as possible.
You mentioned that you kind of lost your relationship with music, and I too have been in stages like that. I'm curious, how did you get back to that? Or did it happen organically? Do you even know? It seems like certainly you're back to that kind of place. You're in LA writing, and in 2022 is shaping up to be an amazing year for the Faim. So how did you get back to that place?
A lot of time, man. A lot of time. I was going through a lot of stuff, just inwardly, identity wise, and just generally struggling, and just really like trying to And especially because I'm so used to always wanting to put myself forward and always work as hard as possible and always try and put myself into the song as much as possible. The things I were putting in just weren't genuine and it wasn't real and didn't feel good. And I wasn't connected enough with myself or my relationship with music to really bring my best foot forward. And and that's a hard thing to even try and accept because it's like, how do you, and this was another thing. How can I sing something with passion and be so connected to it when I haven't seen a part of myself? And that was a whole other thing to try and really grow past, and accept that fact as well. But again, yeah, just a lot of time, man. And also the band guys, my family, people around me, helping me and helping me understand. I would be so lost without these people in my life because my brain is an absolute pinball machine of just thoughts and feelings and just absolute explosions of everything. So like if I didn't have people to keep me grounded and keep me people that I really trust, I would be very lost without them all, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm just very happy to say that now I'm in a much more creative space and putting myself forward. And at the end of the day, can I say to myself and be like, oh, I wish I could have done more during that time? Yeah, I can, but at the same time, the level of creativity that I'm feeling, just starting to feel now, is a product of those times of real distress and personal, I guess, like that. I don't know how to, like, fracturing, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
One of the reasons why I was really excited to have the Faim on Spinning Thoughts back in episode 152 was just how large your sound is, how anthemic your music really is, and there's energy and passion behind it. So I completely hear and understand what you're saying, where it had to be very challenging if you're losing or trying to find or reconnect with some of that passion. These songs demand it, the band
Yeah.
seems to demand that kind of energy. It's what drew me to the Faim in 2018. It's what's keeping me completely into what you all are doing and keeping me excited for what's to come here in 2022. So I'm glad to see that you're heading, in the path that that you feel is good and healthy, and that you're back to creating and right at the beginning stages. So it's probably really exciting for you. Back to the hills, the song "The Hills," and you mentioned this is about the Perth Hills from back home in Australia. Can you talk to me a little bit about some of your favorite things of that area? Obviously, I'm not familiar with Perth or the Perth Hills, so I have no semblance. But
Sure.
what is that place like, or what do you love about that place, or is there anything in particular about it that you'd like to share?
Sure. I mean, there's a few things, man. Like Perth is interesting because it whenever you go there, it always stays the same. Whether like, and it depends on what your perspectives are. It's a place that doesn't necessarily, I guess, change. When you go back there, you can be with the people that you grew up with and know that everything's just kind of the same, and not that have like a negative connotation. I mean, of course, sometimes it can, but that's one important factor of Perth. But also Perth is a beautiful place. It's one of the most isolated capital cities in the world. And for me personally, a lot of people will say that, it's boring, or it's not like Sydney, or it's not a busy city or stuff like that. It's still quite busy, but, it doesn't have that big city identity. But, some of the most amazing people and incredible experiences I've had in Perth. And I think it's a place that where once you find the right people and once you find, I guess, your niche amongst it, it's better than any other place. But again, Perth and also where Sam and I grew up, we grew up in a place called the Swan Valley, and it's a beautiful area. Just being able to wake up in nature and not necessarily in the bush or in the outback, and we've got snakes and stuff just flooding our house or something. But it's more just like it's more. You'd have the occasional kangaroo in your backyard, or you hear the like kookaburras in the morning or something like that. And those little things, again, are things you don't appreciate until you don't have it. Because like growing up like that, it just is what just is what it is. But once again, you don't appreciate that classic saying of you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. And not that it's necessarily gone, but you know, it's all those little things that are so important with Perth. It's not just a city. It's how you, and again, this, and maybe I'm just speaking from a place of like where people just grow up, because you always find those little things you love about home. But the more of the sentiment with hills is that, you know, whether it's a hill or a mountain or a tree or a house or whatever it is, people should be able to find their own version of the hills anywhere, depending on what it is, wherever they look, you know. And sometimes home, or your feeling of home, isn't just a place. It's people, it's experiences, it's the things that make you who you are.
Absolutely. And I, like I said earlier, I mean, the feeling in the hills that I get when I listen to it, it is relatable. I can kind of, as I watch the music video, and we're going to talk about that here next, but as I watch the music video and there's these images that are flying by, you know, I almost create the images in my head of the areas in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. And while it's visually very different from what I saw in the music video, it just feels like, kind of like what you said, everybody, hopefully, you know, one could hope that everybody has their own version of the hills that they can at least go to in their memories or in their minds, to find a sense of calm and peace. So when it comes to the music video of The Hills, who was involved with the creation of this outside of the band, and what kind of involvement does the band have when it comes to music videos? Are you guys deeply involved? What does that relationship and dynamic look like?
Yeah, like, sorry about the lighting here as well, man. The sun's just come up and said hello. Usually we, like, in the past, we've had like a bit of involvement with music videos, but because we've been so busy, we haven't necessarily had the time to dive in as much as we'd like and really figure out how can this, not that the videos haven't connected with songs, but figure out our own sort of real unique perspective and get into the nitty gritty of what we want to show. And Sam came with a lot of ideas for what to do with the music video for The Hills. And we worked with a group called Old Modern in Perth, and it was an incredible experience. Like, we really got to highlight what we wanted The Hills to be, which was just because all the shots, we shot it all in Perth. So everything that you see is a place in Perth. And it's funny because when we were shooting it, we were talking about, this doesn't look like Perth. For some reason, the way this is shot doesn't look like Perth. And again, made us realize that Perth has aspects to it that are really, really beautiful. You know, you have so many different variables of environment, and, you know, and it was really good to kind of work with a team that was not only so passionate and really dedicated and hardworking, but believed in the idea of the song and really wanted to showcase that. And it was great, man. It was a great experience. We did a lot of shooting, and because we shot Ease My Mind with them as well. And we it was like a week or two of just a lot of shooting, really. Like, we went to so many different places. Like, I think we saw more of Perth, and we've grown up there most of our lives. We saw more of Perth in that music video than we have in the years of growing up there. You know, it was that kind of experience. But no, it was really good, and it's great to be able to show, you know, parts of our hometown, because we don't really talk about it as much in the past. Well, not for any reason, but just because we haven't had, I guess, the catalyst to start talking about it. But yeah, no, it was a great experience, and Old Modern Group, they're awesome.
I definitely recommend everybody go check out the music video for The Hills. I've been checking it out since its release, and again, you'll get that nostalgic kind of vibe, even if you've never been there. You know, it just kind of makes you reflect a little bit. At least that's what it did for me. And you know, to transition the conversation slightly, I'm looking forward to kind of hearing what you have to say about what's going on currently. So you're right now in the States, in LA to be specific, and you're writing for what I assume is this next album that the band is loosely referencing and teasing.
Yes.
I believe that there is a targeted release window for sometime in 2022. And so that's just part of a lot of the exciting things that are going on for the Faim here this year. Talk to me a little bit about how long have you actually been in LA for this particular trip, How long will you be here? And are you just writing, or are you also, maybe it's a game of semantics. When you say writing, are you recording this album right now, or where are you at in this cycle currently?
Sure, man. I'd say I got here around the 17th of Jan, and I'll be here till end of February, start of March, and depending on what goes on with tours that we have lined up, like of course not just the one we've announced for UK, Europe, like some other ones, and figuring out what's going on there. I may be here longer, but the process we're at, it's been a bit of everything, really. But the main goal is to record the album. But we've decided that because the last few months have been producing some really great songs, we were just like, fuck it, let's write some more. Like, more songs can't hurt, and let's figure out where it goes, And we really want to give this second album just as much identity as it can, and just figure out, because we are getting into more nitty gritty stuff now. Like, these last 2 months, we are exploring those feelings of the last 2 years, and shedding some layers off, and getting to some real stuff, and that's super important, because you can write songs and have them be a song, but when you take off the armor and really, it becomes more than a song. Then it becomes something that transcends that a bit, even though that sounds a little strange, but that's the kind of where it's at sometimes. Sometimes there is that feeling when it comes to a song. But we're just mainly finishing out the album, man, and getting as many songs together as possible, because if we have more songs, we're gonna put them on it. We're going to, if we have 30 songs that we love, we'll release 30 songs. We're not just going to hold them and withhold them and keep them for another EP or something like that. No, we want this album to be big, if it's going to be big, and just really following that train, and we've been very fortunate to be able to have this luxury, really, of being able to do this. So
as I was preparing for this conversation with you, I went back and actually listened to episode 152, where I talked to you, and I think everybody who was in the band at the time. And one, it was just absolutely embarrassing to hear just my approach to.
Dude, I do that. Sorry, you have no idea, man. Old demos or old interviews, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you saying? Look at you, dude. I feel you, man.
Yeah, so it was a trip for sure. I didn't want to listen to the entire thing, but I did, just to kind of not only see my own growth, I guess, up to now, but certainly to kind of just revisit the growth of the Faim. So I listened to that episode. I listened to the debut EP again. I listened to the debut full length. And wow, I mean, I can just tell that there's been massive growth for this band from the EP to the LP. And then we're hearing these, 2 latest singles that are out. And again, just even more growth from the band. Talk to me a little bit about what you think may or hope may be the same in terms of what the Faim does. I think there's a consistency with this band in terms of the sound. It does evolve and grow and become more mature, but what do you think might be the same, and what might be different about this release that's currently in the making?
You really, really hit the nail on the head, in the sense of we wanted to keep aspects of, and also not completely change what's been happening, what we've released before, because we want to take what the parts of what makes those songs so good and just and make them better, but also because our influences have also grown and changed as well, with the music soundscape growing and developing, and even song structures or different sort of genre fluidities kind of coming into it. We've wanted to kind of explore that, because that's what music is. You I guess produce what you love, you create what you're influenced by, and and for us, this album, that's been super important in this album. But we haven't wanted to we can't release, even though we've got the State of Mind album, and then we can't just go full reggae pop punk or go full metal or something like that, but to take aspects of those things and like find like and find the Faim sound. And that's been a big thing about this second album too. Like, what is the Faim sound? Like, we're asking ourselves these questions. Like, what do we want to sound like? What do we want to say? What do we want people to take away from our album? What do we want people to know about us? And who do we want to be? And it was a lot of questions, and which has been a big thing for the Faim, because we've never had that time. We just haven't. Like, we haven't had that time to really answer those questions, not necessarily honestly, but with the amount of, I guess, space and time and experience to really kind of find the answers to those questions, more than just being able to, I guess, say them. But that's what's so exciting for this album, is that it really is, a reflection of these past 2 years. But there has been that maturity, I can comfortably say, like from all of us as individuals in the band and as a band, of figuring out those questions, and also the relationship with each other has grown and matured, and we've all lent on each other in ways, and it's just been taking, and that's what happens when things like what's been going on in today's world happen. You find things, you evaluate things that you wouldn't necessarily before, and if you're in a creative space, those things bubble to the surface, and so with this album, it's that's what's been so important, is being honest with that journey and reflecting that journey in these songs, because Ease My Mind was written when we had just came back from, like, pretty much kind of right after we finished touring and had just been in France, and came back home and right as everything started happening. And we've got songs from then, and then we've got songs from yesterday that are good and could be on the album, So there is, again, that like journey of what's happened. So like it's gonna be, I can't wait to see the shape of it all, and that's a big thing too, is we want to make sure that journey is relevant. We want to make sure that, like, you can see that progression and you can be on that journey with us, as a listener and hopefully fan of the Faim, and be a part of that, because everyone has, like, that's another thing we're incredibly thankful for, is the people, because we were off the planet for like a year and a half, 2 years pretty much. No one knew what the hell was going on. We just kind of vanished, and as much as we were doing things, we're so thankful that people still care enough to want to be a part of our journey, and again, that's another thing that we're so grateful for, and being able to have the beauty of hindsight and be like, wow, like there is something here that needs to be nurtured and grown, and also but honestly looked at and expressed. So that's kind of like their objectives with this album. And State of Mind was a great album as well, but that's why we want to just take what we can from it, but also realize how much we've changed and grown, and those things need to happen naturally as well. We can't just write a State of Mind album again. I don't think it would be in us creatively. We're just not those type of people. We're always trying to push the envelope or push each other or just follow whatever we're feeling and creatively.
Now, I'm kind of under the impression that The Hills is technically like the first like pre-release single from this album. Is that correct? Like, is that song going to be on this album? And if so, why have you chosen this to kind of lead off the cycle of giving people a taste of what this music might sound like?
Well, we did release Ease My Mind beforehand as well, and then The Hills after as well. I think these songs will be on the album. Again, this is still open to discussion, and this may change tomorrow. I tend to change my mind quite a lot, but as far as I know, I think these songs will be on the album. And I think these songs were important is because they were also at the kind of the start of it. The Hills was definitely a while later, but they were songs that were not only just done, but songs that we felt, we represented us, songs that we felt, I guess, really captured not just the moments of when we was trying to write and we're going through that grind, but also, again, coming home after that tour, and really, it's kind of like giving people the parts of where we left off and kind of and talking about, because that's kind of what happened. We kind of just dropped off the map, and we haven't really given people an insight into that journey. And that's what you have to do now. Like, it can't just be, release songs and go. There's got to be like that and which is kind of like what, not necessarily what happened, but like, you have to really allow not only yourself, but allow the understanding of our journey, and allow people to really dive into that, because it is important. And there's been a lot of things that have happened, and these things need to be talked about. And as more of the songs come out, or as the album eventually comes out, there's going to be more of those conversations. There's going to be more of those interviews. There's going to be questions about those songs. And then that's, again, when those layers will come in, and the last 2 years of, I guess, in and out will start to make a lot of sense. And, and that's kind of the reasoning for these two songs as well. And also on like kind of a more surface level basis, love the songs. We love the videos. And all four of us were together in Perth. We were able to have a music video with all four of us in it. And it was just like, it just felt right. And with the way the music videos came out, we were just like, yeah, this has to happen. So, yeah.
It's really exciting. I can't wait to just see what happens with this album. And when I interview bands, I do typically talk to them before, and I try to before an album releases. But I'll be honest with you, Josh, this is one of the few times where I've really interviewed somebody who's somewhere recording, writing music for an album that is in the making. So it is really exciting. Just, I'm going to just be a little selfish here right now and just say it's really fucking cool, like to be able to have the chance to talk to you while you're in this creative space. I'm sure it's hard to wear the different hats and whatnot. So I want to thank you for kind of taking off the recording hat and putting on the hat to come talk to me. It's very exciting. Now, to kind of jump away from the album and talk about some other things that are announced right now. The band just announced at the end of January that you're going to be heading to the UK and Europe for a really nice run of headlining shows. I think it starts May the 31st. It's going to go through July the 7th. The band posted on social media that this has been like this headlining tour has been in the making for around 2 years. Can you talk to me about the dynamic of that, getting this tour together, and, just how you're feeling about this endeavor overall?
Oh man, I can't wait. Man, I'm counting down the minutes. I'm going to lose my shit as soon as I get on stage, dude. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that anyone that is listening, if you get the chance to come to these shows, they will be the wildest Faim shows you've ever seen. Because again, man, like it has been so insane, like trying to get these together. And again, just want to like say credit to like the people on our team and Rob, our manager, and booking agent Jeff Meal and stuff like that. For real, this is hard to do at the moment. This is not easy. This is like, and it's been in the making for a long time, and it took this much work. It took this time, and also making sure that it's safe for other people and safe for us, and also making sure that it's going to happen, that we go over there and there's a big chance of being able to just follow through and play the shows. But man, I can't wait. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And this is the thing, like, again, with like the beauty of hindsight is when you're touring and when you were touring as much as we were, and not that we necessarily became jaded towards it or anything like that, but once you're away from it for so long, you realize like, shit, like how important touring is, how important like meeting those people were, and how much it affected us, and how much it positively gave us so much fuel for everything creativity wise, or just anything really, because it's what we love. And being able to be on there on stage again with all of us is going to be an amazing experience for people to see, because I don't know what's going to happen. I just know it's going to be mental. That's what I know. I that's the only certainty I can give, is that it's going to be mental. Like, because, for me personally, and for the rest of the guys too, I speak for them on this, is that we love it and we miss it. We miss it so much. Like, it's a huge part of our lives, and it's what really, and it's the lifeblood of our band. We are a live performing band. Like we just are. And That's why when people see our show, we hope that they get a different layer to what they would see necessarily on Spotify tracks, because we want that extra, not just emotion, but even in the soundscape of the song, or even the whole performance aspect of it. We want people to leave being like, feeling like, wow, I don't think, like, I've heard the song before, but I haven't heard it in that way, or even just feeling like they had a good time, or feeling like, or just surprised, and that's what we want, like, and that, because that's sometimes for us as well, like, even if you get into a groove of shows and you figure out everything and you've got like a great, I guess, show mapped out, once it's mapped out, which usually takes a while through the tour, you then start doing things unpredictably and things just happen. And that's, again, the beauty of tour. And especially if with us as a band, we tend to lean into things that just happen. And, we'll be like, oh, that was kind of cool, that show. What can we do to do that? And then we'll make a whole thing around it. And then suddenly we've got a Jack Black intro for a song. And then, you know what I mean? We've got School of Rock talking at the start of a song. And then, suddenly it just becomes an experience for us. And that's what we want for people to come in and not just be like, seeing a show and have the songs played and that's it. We want people to kind of dive into the theatrics of it. And me especially, I'm a very theatrical person, sometimes to my own detriment. It's just who I am and who we are. And it's an important part of our live show. And again, I'm rambling, I'm sorry, but I'm so passionate about live shows again, man. I just have missed it so much and can't wait to see people and also hear more new songs, play more new songs. It's gonna be amazing.
The energy and passion that you have for it certainly is tangible, and I think that people need that right now. Like, people need to feel, the band's excitement, to get back out there to tour, and yeah, I can feel it. I'm getting excited. I'm not in the UK or Europe right now, but I'm excited for everybody over there who can experience this whenever the back end of May and June kind of roll around. This might be hard, this next question, to kind of quantify, Josh, but you talked about how much the Faim is a touring, performing band, how you've missed touring and all of that. Is there any particular element or aspect of touring that you personally have missed the most?
It's a great question, man. It's hard to put it into one, but a few things, like I miss the people you tour with, like the crew, and like and the band, and like you have on tour, as hard as things can be sometimes, there's a deepness in the relationship, and also a sense of teamwork that happens that's hard to, like, it's hard to replicate, and the relationships you share with those people, like Joe, our sound guy, and Mitch, our guitar tech, and and even like Ollie, our tour manager as well. And we miss, it's just like, when you're in that space, you just have a relationship with people it's hard to quantify, because you rely on each other and you depend on each other, and things are so up and down, and it is like a family. It is like, it's what it feels like, and again, like, another thing I miss is not only playing live and being able to see people get some enjoyment out of what we're doing. Like, that really, like, does something in my soul. I don't know what it is, but like, when that happens, and there's like a certain, feels like a beast, but it's not something that's like insane. It's like a motivation that's like a, I don't know how to describe it. It's incredibly moving. But then also, like, and again, this is a hard thing to do with what's going on at the moment, is like, which is, I wish wasn't the case, but one thing I've missed is meeting people, meeting fans of our band, meeting new fans of our band, meeting people who have seen us for the first time. And that's going to be a thing to try and navigate. And that, this is a challenge I'm going to take upon myself, is connecting people, getting to know people from the stage as much as possible, more than, because unfortunately, with the way things are, that's a difficult thing to try and maintain, especially if we want to be touring consistently and we've got shows booked. That's going to be a hard thing to manage. But again, that's a challenge I happily accept, and I always love being able to do things on stage anyway. But I miss those things the most.
Absolutely. And I think from all the conversations that I've had with bands so far this year, and as people are ramping up for tours and whatnot, that seems to be common. It's hard to quantify exactly what you've missed because there's so many elements to touring, and it's kind of like the same question if you were to ask people who go to concerts nonstop. There's people who will follow tours, and go to multiple dates and stuff. And it's like, why do you do it? Like, what do you miss the most? It's hard to say, but what I really vibed with is kind of this family aspect, almost like, whenever I was in high school growing up, like I played football, organized sports, and I don't really miss playing sports. I wasn't ever really good at it. What I do miss about it is the camaraderie, the family, having a common goal, and that is very translatable, I think, to the music world and the family and the community that can be built and that the Faim seemingly has built and is looking to leverage here in 2022. As we've talked about, Josh, there's a lot of plans here in 2022, from working on this new album to the headlining tour to even a couple fests that I think are part of this headlining tour. I think it's, Download Fest in Rock. Is it Rock AM Ring or is it Rock Am? How do you say that?
Rock Am Ring.
And there's like some.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a different one.
There's some big names on that thing.
Yeah, excited, man. Very excited.
I would be. You guys are playing on the same stage as The Pretty Reckless, which is one of my favorite like hard rock bands right now. Bullet for My Valentine. A lot of hard rock bands actually. Korn. So it's gonna be.
I love Korn. I love Korn.
They just dropped a new album too that I didn't know was coming, and it is sick. Good. It is. It's like 9 tracks.
Very good. It's very good.
So there's lots to be excited about, Josh, but as we round out episode 226 here, I want to just kind of put the ball back into your court and see if there's anything else that you might want to share with the listeners of Spinning Thoughts, any of the fans of the Faim, anything else that we should know about here from the band or from you as we move forward.
Sure. Man, I could rant forever about that. There's a lot of things that I want to say. I'll be honest. There's a lot of things that I want to say. I have a myriad of things that could not end if I start talking about. But I guess like one thing to start on is for everyone that's listening or that doesn't know the band, hope you're happy and healthy. Hope you're safe. Hope you're ready for live shows. And if you're in the UK and Europe, come down to a show because I can happily put myself on the line and say that it's going to be wild. Like I know it's going to be a show that you don't want to miss. And also this new music's pretty insane too. So it's going to be wild. So if you're a fan, please check it out. But for people who know us or maybe heard us before, and I guess the only thing I can really say and without going into a massive essay is thank you. And to you and to anyone that's kind of, been supporting our band and giving us a chance to put our message out there or to have people receive it or to have any opportunity to express we're incredibly thankful for, because the last 2 years has been this in and out feeling of this limbo land world of like, this might not happen again, or this might not. And those thoughts are incredibly terrifying, and especially that's what brings things to perspective of how much you love them and how much you appreciate them. And it doesn't matter what it is, what time it is, or what we're doing. Every little thing is so important. So whether it's like doing interviews like this, or even seeing fan art, or seeing people listen to our song, or all those things mean so much. And we're just incredibly thankful for any opportunity and every person that's willing and is involved with our band.
Well, I could say personally, and I'm going to also say on behalf of anybody who likes the Faim, thank you for what you do. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how things unfold for the Faim here in 2022. You've been now a repeat guest, so maybe we'll have to repeat a third time at the back end of 2022 and catch up whenever this album is out and dive deep into some conversations around the themes and everything then. So really looking forward to the excitement here this year, Josh, and I want to thank you again for coming back and being a guest here in episode 226 of Spinning Thoughts.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much. I hope to come back at some point. Maybe we'll be on a US tour. We'll be able to do it in person at some point. Who knows?
I would love it. I'll hold you up to that offer when that day comes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, mate.
Thank you. Once again, I want to thank Josh from the Faim for being here with me for episode 226 of Spinning Thoughts. As I mentioned, it is always such an honor to have a guest come back onto the podcast, because that tells me that at least I didn't mess things up too badly and that they're willing to come back and have another conversation. And truly, I love having guests come back on because, during the first conversation, it's a lot of feeling each other out, getting the vibe for the conversation. And then before you know it, the podcast episode is over. So it's always so awesome to have a guest come back on to Spinning Thoughts. Thank you, Josh, for the great conversation. Make sure you go check out the Hills from the Faim and just go follow them on all their social media so that you can keep up to date on this upcoming full-length album that they're currently working very hard at. And then don't miss their headlining UK and Europe tour starting May the 31st, and it goes all the way until the beginning of July. They'll be on different fests throughout that, and I have a feeling that we're going to hear a lot more from the Faim here in 2022. While you're at it, go ahead and follow us on all social media at Spin Thoughts. Give this video a like. Follow us, subscribe to us on any podcast platform, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts. I could just keep on going until I'm blue in the face. Don't make me do it. Go find us and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website is thespinningthoughts.com, and we premiere episodes every Thursday at midnight Eastern on Adobe Radio. We'll be back again, same time, same place. Until then, make sure you share music, spread love.